Hey guys, happy Monday. I warn you now, there will be disruptions. I can feel it. Um, chaos is happening at my house. It's really not. It's fine. But good morning. As you jump in here, let me know you're here. Say hey. I don't know. That's all I got. Usually I shoot the breeze. How was everyone's weekend? I'm trying to think. Oh, I got to play volleyball with Lindsay yesterday. That was fun. And I went out and, okay, this is a funny story. Okay, it's not a funny story. It's a weird story. So I went to play disc golf. Me and my husband met my mom, my dad, and my brother to go play some disc golf. I get out of the car, and I don't know what I think I'm like getting my water. Oh, I'm turning the speaker on and everything. I look down, my fingers bleeding. Okay, like almost like a paper cut. But all I had done was get out of the car, and I'd done nothing, right? So I'm just like, this is really weird. And so we're walking to the car. I have nothing, right? There's no Band-Aids. There's no, like, nothing. And it's like, it won't stop bleeding. And it's not like, whatever. So I'm like trying to get it to stop bleeding. My mom goes back to the car to grab like some Band-Aids or some napkins or something because I don't want to wipe it on my sweatshirt. Gross. So so I start by throwing left-handed, which if anyone has ever played any sort of sports with me, my left arm doesn't do anything. Like, why is it even there? Okay. It's not. So that was terrible. My mom comes. I thought I got it done bleeding. I throw my first Frisbee and it just starts bleeding again. So I could not get this thing to stay closed without a Band-Aid, which I don't even know. If I had a Band-Aid, I feel like when I'm throwing, I would have like caught it. Anyway, so at one point I finally, I was throwing left-handed. I was trying to throw right-handed, but I was throwing terrible and it hurt. So finally I quit. I think after the 8th hole maybe, I was like, I think I'm good. Because this is not only frustrating, but like my whole hip is dropping. So really stupid. A cut. It looks like a paper cut. It doesn't feel. It feels like a deep paper cut, but I don't even know how I got it. So anyway, that's my story from the weekend. How is everybody else? I see y'all jumping on. Let me know you're here. Say good morning. And yeah, definitely start posting your questions. I have a few things that I want like a few off live questions that I can answer that I've gotten coming through the pipeline over the last couple of weeks. But definitely here to answer your guys' questions when you're here live. Like, that is the benefit. You show up live, you post your questions, and I will answer them for you right here, right now. So let's talk about, there are a few things I want to talk about when it comes to PPP. The PPP loans, okay? Because last week there were a few miscommunications, misguidance going around. So I want to clear some of that up. So I had a number of clients. Hi, Mark. I'll get to your question in just a minute. So last week we had not a lot. I had a couple of clients, and a couple of my CPAs had other clients too that were being told by their banks that they could not apply for their second PPP loan if they had not applied for forgiveness for their first. Okay, that is not true. Okay, so let me break down where that, because it is we found the section in the actual SBA guidance, the Treasury guidance. And what the Treasury guidance says is that you cannot apply for forgiveness on your second loan before you apply for forgiveness on your first loan. And that's only for loans over $150,000. Okay, so if your loan is under $150,000, your bank should not be bothering you at all about your first loan. The only criteria, the only rule, the only stipulation is that you have to have spent the money from your first PPP loan before you can apply for a second one. And so for most of us, we've done that, right? So most of us have done that. So Mark says, hello again. Can you discuss the employee retention tax credit now that employers are eligible for, despite having PPP-1? Mark, we are trying to find an easy way to kind of, so Mark, I think you're from Jamie's group as well. So Jamie and I 2 other CPAs who work together are trying to create kind of an easy checklist, easy way of training you guys on this discussion. But let me talk. So let me start by, for everyone who doesn't know what the Employee Retention Tax Credit is. So back when the CARES Act was passed in March, the original Employee Retention Tax Credit was passed at the same time the PPP was passed, right? But the stipulation back there is that it was one or the other. And the PPP was more beneficial for most businesses. The new Economic Aid Act of December has now said, we'll retroactively we'll retroactively allow you to do both. So even if you got a PPP, if you qualify for the Employee Retention Tax Credit, you can go ahead and go back and take it. And then they also created a 2021 Employee Retention Tax Credit for first and second quarters of this upcoming year that you may qualify for as well. So I'm gonna break, even though it's all called Employee Retention Tax Credit, there really are two different credits here because the criteria and the calculations for 2020 are different, very, very different than 2021. So let's go backwards first. Let's go back to 2020. So if you guys have employees, listen up, okay? If you're a sole prop, if you have no employees, if it's just you, this is not something you can qualify for. You have to have employees to benefit from this. Okay, so that's step one. You have to have employees. The second part is that your receipts for a quarter, either second quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter, okay, for any quarter in 2020, you have to show that that quarter is 50% lower than that same quarter from 2019. Okay, so what that means, guys, is if you look at quarter 2 of 2020 and you look at it compared to quarter 2 of 2019, you look at your gross revenue. Okay, remember that's before expenses. Okay, before costs and expenses. Good morning. Then your receipts, if they decreased by 50% or more, you may qualify for this retention credit, okay? And so we're not gonna dig super, super deep. What I want you guys to understand now today is how do I qualify for it? What does it mean? So that's the step, okay? If you had employees and if your gross receipts decreased by 50% or more in second, third, or fourth quarter of 2020 compared to that same exact quarter from 2019, you can qualify for this credit. What is this credit? So for 2020, the credit is up to 50% of your employee wages, and it maxes out at $5,000. So what that says is 50% of $10,000 of wages, okay? Big thing here, Mark, is that the employee retention credit, the wages that you're using the credit have to be different than the wages you used PPP to pay. So, and this is kind of where it gets a little complicated. It's like, okay, when did I qualify? Where do I qualify? And so we're trying to build a training and maybe a worksheet. Children, told you there was going to be disruptions, guys. On how to make this easy for you guys, because and what I want to make clear, you guys, is make it easy for you to understand if you qualify for it. If you think you do, you absolutely should be consulting a CPA or an accountant who can help you, because the calculation is nuts. We're trying to create a worksheet that makes it easy, and we just can't. It's not working. Jamie is getting there, but it's a hot mess. So that is 2020, guys. So 50% decrease in receipts 1 year over, or 2020 for a quarter 2020 compared to 2019, you can qualify for up to a $5,000 loan, 50% of wages. We will talk about 2021. There is a employee retention credit, employee retention tax credit put into place for first and second quarters. And it's a lot more lenient. I believe it is, your receipts only have to be down 20% compared to that same quarter of 2019. And the credit can be up to 70% of wages. All right. So 7,000 of up to 10,000. Okay. There's still that 10,000 limit. So that says $7,000 limit, but this year it's per quarter. Okay, so we will do a whole training on this, because Mark, you're not the first person to ask about it now that they've made this retroactive and added the 2021 piece. So be on the lookout for a whole training on this one for sure. All right, so I was receiving PUA unemployment when my first PPP came through. I didn't use the PPP until a month after I stopped claiming PUA. That's perfect. As long as you did use it until a month after you stopped claiming PUA, as long as it was still used to pay yourself within 24 weeks of when you received it, totally fine. Okay, totally fine. Oh wait, it looks like you, Wendy, I'll come back to you. But is that little overlap of receiving funds while still on unemployment a little problem? And didn't use the PPP to pay myself until a month after I stopped claiming, but is that little overlap of receiving funds while still on unemployment? No, because, and we had a lot of clients who did this actually, a lot of taxpayers, they received the money, right? They applied for PPP, they received the money. Let's say you did it in the beginning of June, right? You received a PPP loan, let's just say $10,000. But you were on unemployment because you got that extra unemployment until the end of July, right? So for 8 weeks, that PPP money stayed in an account, you took unemployment, and then when unemployment ended, then you started paying yourself out of PPP. Totally fine, as long as it was paid out within that 24-week covered period. You were on top of it. So Wendy says, hi, Wendy. SEP plans. You can put 20% in this account. Is the 20% before or after deductions? So this gets a little complicated. I roll my eyes because I'm like, yes. So the rule, right, when you guys, so a SEP plan is a self-employed pension. And SEPs are fantastic for any of you out there who are self-employed, who do not have employees. All right. If you have employees, you still qualify, but the benefit comes in that you can, the rule says that you can contribute up to 25%. And I know Wendy says 20, and I'll explain the correlation in a second, that you can contribute up to 25% of your earned income to retirement, to the self-employed pension, a SEP IRA. All right. And it becomes a tax write-off, it's an adjustment. So for example, and this is different. And so for when you're an S Corp, right? So I'm an S Corp, which means I pay myself through W-2 wages. Okay. Let's pretend like I don't have all the awesome employees I do. Okay. It's just me, and I pay myself W-2 wages of $100,000 this year. All right. Then I can make a SEP contribution of up to $25,000. All right. And that becomes an additional deduction to the business because it's a business made deduction. All right. It is 25%, but up to, I believe the cap is $56,000, which is like, or maybe it's 200. I'm trying to do the math in my head. It's a crazy amount, but that contribution amount is capped at like $52,000 or $56,000. But you would have to have wages or earned income of like over $250,000 to max out your SEP. All right. One thing to note, if you have employees, right, you have to contribute the same percentage to theirs as you do to yours. This is why a SEP IRA is fantastic for those of you who don't have employees. And it's on like $250 some odd thousand in income. Perfect. So where Wendy gets the 20%, so when you are self-employed, so when you're filing your business return, right, and you file your business on Schedule C of your 1040 or as a partnership, there's adjustments made to that calculation, right? And I can't remember the exact reasoning because it's insane, but essentially you now only get to contribute 20% rather than 25%. And Wendy, if you can remember off the top of your head what those adjustments are for, you're welcome to put them in the comments. But that's not even what Wendy's asking. So Wendy's saying, is that is the 20% before or after deductions? So 20% of your Schedule C line 31. Okay, Schedule C line 31, which if you have applied for a PPP loan, you're becoming super familiar with that line. That is your taxable business income. And that is the number that is used to calculate your SEP IRA contribution amount. They also make adjustments for part of the reason you get to reduce, Wendy. Part of the adjustment is because they adjust for half of your self-employment tax. They'll adjust for any health insurance you pay out of your business or for yourself as a business owner. And I feel like there's one more adjustment. But yes, the question is your 20% SEP IRA amount based on before or after deductions? It is based after tax deductions. So it's based on your taxable business income. All right. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Oh, we covered that one. Mark says sounds complex. So it is for wages paid not using PPP loan. Yes, that's the key, Mark. So Mark is going back. We're talking about the employee retention credit that we talked about a couple items ago. And that's the key. They reversed. Originally it was like, right, PPP or tax credit. And now they said, okay, that's fine. We will let you do both, but they can't be the same wages. So you have to be able to somehow prove that. And that's what we're kind of trying to come up with to help you guys. Thank you. I read that the CAA signed December 27th, 2020 modifies the CARES Act, the determination of a significant decline in gross receipts effective January 1, 2020 if gross receipts are less than 80%. So that is for 2021. So and we talked about this a little bit when we answered Mark's question at the beginning of the Q&A. So, and I'll look again, but I'm pretty confident I'm right. So there's the 80%. Okay, so let me try to make this easy. Not for you, but for everyone else. So the employee retention credit requires a decrease in gross receipts in order to qualify. All right. And what it says is there's a 2020 employee retention tax credit. There's rules there, and there's new rules for 2021. And in 2021, gross receipts just have to decline 20%, which is equivalent to your 80%. But they didn't go back and change the 50% requirement for 2020. What they changed for 2020 was that you can now do PPP and take the we call it the ERC, the Employee Retention Credit, as long as you don't use the funds or use the same wages to qualify to qualify both. All right, and that was actually the other big thing I wanted to talk about was the Employee Retention Credit. There we go. A few other just reminders, you guys, as we're ending January, right? As we're closing out January, if you have 1099s to file, those are due next Monday. If you have questions about that, that's what today's 9 o'clock training was on. So you can go check the archives in the videos and check that out. That also means W-2s need to be filed. So if you have employees if you have W-2 employees, you got to file those W-2s by February 1st of this year for 2020. Okay. What else? What else you guys got? We got almost 10 more minutes, but I'm happy to answer questions, or I'm happy to let you guys go early. I feel like a teacher. We can go early if nobody has questions. I'm just also checking Facebook to see, because sometimes I can see things better there. Okay. I do want to say, I want to give you guys some PPP, some second round updates. I do have clients who have gone through the entire process. In fact, I signed loan documents this weekend for my PPP. And I had two clients tell me that they got their loan docs on Friday. So they're moving this process along, you guys. It's not like, sometimes it seems mythical because we've been talking about it for so long and it just isn't happening. Well, it's happening. So if you have already been able to apply for your PPP loan, your second loan, or your first, if you are just filing for your first one as well, things should be moving. I'll give you a timeline of mine, and I have 2 clients who are pretty much in line with my timeline within like a day or 2. So we were told on January 4 we were told first rounds would open January. Let me look at the calendar. 11th. That's a Monday, right? And that second rounds would open that following Wednesday. I was able to apply on Thursday, which would have been the 14th maybe of January. At which point I approved, you know, my bank approved it. They looked at it. They said, okay, you're good to go. We'll submit it to the SBA. Rumor had it that SBA wasn't accepting them till the 19th. That was last Tuesday. Okay, like less than a week ago. So I got a notice from my bank on Tuesday, and my clients did as well, saying we've submitted to the SBA. Give it, you know, they say allow 24 to 48 hours. And on Friday, I got my loan documents saying you've been approved, sign it, we'll get you your money. So I'm guessing I'll get my money this week. So I'll let you guys know next week. I'll give you an update on how long that took. So have hope, but keep an eye on your email, okay? Because this process is going fast, and you will get these like emails. Me and my clients, we've all gotten these emails going, you have loan documents. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And I'm like, and I look and they're all within like an 8-hour period. I was like, okay. Mark says, PPP1 forgiveness app is due before end of 10 months from end of coverage period, right? Still awaiting Bank of America releasing the fabled one-pager for PPP1 less than. Yes. So yes, and that's also, you guys, that is a good update. So new applications just came out last week. The forgiveness applications for first round just came out last week. I can't believe I forgot about this. All right, almost missed this. So they're simpler. So Mark, for you, and you're right, Mark, with the deadline. So you guys, remember, your covered period for most of us is 24 weeks. Okay, there are some of us that took really early loans, like in April or May of last year, that could have opted for an 8-week covered period. If you did, then you're like, even if you were one of the first borrowers in April and you took the 8-week period, your 10 months still isn't up until this April. Okay, that is the earliest. Everybody else that's taking the 24 weeks, which you should be, right? Again, even if your date was, even if you were a first time or like one of the early borrowers in April, your covered period did not even end till October, which means you have 10 months from October, which puts us in what, next August, or this August, sorry, this year, it's 2021 now, August, okay? So I want you guys, I actually have we're gonna do a whole, we did a little video on this to like, deep breath, they're not, you know, like there's time, okay? And the thing is, guys, if for some reason you don't apply for forgiveness before your 10 months is over, they'll start, you know, they will start charging or start collecting payments, but you're not disqualified from applying for forgiveness. You still can. Okay, so that's another kind of important thing. I don't want you guys to procrastinate, but right now it's not us procrastinating, right? It's a lot of our banks. Our banks are telling us hold, right? But now we finally, last Tuesday, the new applications came out. There are 3 of them. There's an S. I actually, in fact, I think I wrote, if I didn't, I can't remember if I wrote it in the group or not, but I will make sure it's in here. The 3 different forms, and making sure you guys are getting into the easiest form you can. If your loan is less than $150,000, regardless of any other factors, if your loan is less than $150,000, we get to file what's called the S form. All right, and that's all we have to file. It's a front and back page document. We do not have to submit we have to keep supporting documentation, okay, guys, in case the SBA comes back, but we don't have to submit anything. Okay, we submit the front and the 2-page document, lots of certifications, right? Yes, I spent the money right. Yes, I satisfied, you know, this, that, and the other. And if you don't have FTE safe harbor, meaning you had to let people go, you had to cut people, you know, you had to cut wages, and you're not under one of the safe harbor rules, you will have to do some calculations and then add them to this form, but you still only have to submit this 2-page form, front and back. Okay, if your loans are over $150,000, there is an easy form for those of you that qualify for the safe harbors, right? You don't have to worry about FTEs, you did it. And then there's the monstrosity of the regular form, which is, it's a monstrosity. That's what I just called it, and that's what I'm sticking to. All right, so we will talk. Mark says, that's good. Had a bankrupt tell me it was from the loan date funding. No, and we still, and that is because, Mark, let me just let you know, because originally when the CARES Act passed, it was 6 months from loan funding. So I actually had clients last October, you know, I had a couple different clients saying, hey, my bank says payments are starting. Hey, and I'm like, they're operating under old information. And it's hard, especially in those really big banks, you know, when, you know, maybe the leadership team is the one trying to, you know, get the training and learn all the different things. And then it has to eventually trickle down to the people we're talking to, right? So it's a lot harder. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, US Bank, those big ones, especially hard. Okay. Mark says for PPP2, we have lost 4 employee count. Does that affect my PPP2 calc? That's a great question, Mark. And so with your PPP2, guys, when you're going for a second PPP, you can use your 19 numbers again, or you can use your 2020 numbers. So we've been running this for clients, and there's been a couple of clients that even though using their 2020 numbers resulted in a smaller loan, because they had let employees go and they didn't think they'd be able to satisfy the 2019 FTE requirements, they're using the 2020 figures so they have a lower FTE to satisfy. You guys, FTE, full-time equivalent, keeping those employees, even though it costs them, you know, $5,000, $6,000. So definitely something to look at, Mark, because you can use 19, but then you also have to use that employee count when it comes to asking for forgiveness. And the thing is, can you get back up to that employee count? If you're not sure, or you think it's a stretch, then maybe you look at your 2020 numbers. You see, okay, what would that look like? What would that loan look like? What would the FTE requirement look like? Is that easier to satisfy? And maybe it's too, you know, and maybe you look at 2020, you're like, whoa, that's way less money than 2019. And then it comes down to, okay, how do you need the money bad enough that you're willing to take part of it as a loan if you use your 19 numbers? Or do you really want to get it all forgiven and you're okay taking less money? So there's a lot of different things to kind of factor in there for sure. Mark says we could do the longer covered period and fight to hire account back. We let one go and 3 moved on. Yes. So if you decide, so guys, let's use an example real quick. We're over time, but we're gonna keep going. So let's say 2019, I had 10 employees. Okay, let's just say they all worked full time just for ease. Okay, 10 full-time employees, and I got $100,000 in PPP. Okay, I can qualify for that exact same amount again on this PPP too, assuming my receipts, you know, I satisfy and I qualify for the PPP too, right? I can use 2019 numbers. I can get that $100,000 loan, and but then when I go for forgiveness, I have to use that 10 employee figure. I have to get back to that number or decrease my loan forgiveness if I don't get back to that number. Okay. Or let's say I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't think I can get back to 10. What does 2020 look like? So let's say we run 2020 numbers and we now have 6 employees and we had, let's say we had $60,000 in, like, that's what we would qualify for our second PPP loan. Okay. So we got to decide, okay, is 60,000 all I need? If 60,000 is all I need, and that makes me feel comfortable, like, yes, I can get through this with $60,000, then yeah, I'm going to use the 2020 numbers so I have a lower FTE to keep to prove with forgiveness. But if I am really struggling and I'm like, no, I need every penny I can get, I've got to use 2019 numbers, then I know that by using 2019 numbers, hold on one second. That's loud, Michaela. Love, can you just be a little quieter? Yeah. Sorry. Knowing that I'm taking that $100,000 and I had 10 employees and I either need to get back to that 10 employee count by the end of my covered period, or I'm going to have to take a chunk of that $100,000 as a loan instead of getting it forgiven. So there's just some variables there for sure. Mark says we originally did the 8-week. Thanks for all of this. You're awesome. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. I work, working hard just to kind of keep up with it and make sure we can help you guys with everything we can. So that said, I do want to tell you guys that so there's this, right? There's this training I do with you guys every Monday. Then if you're not on my YouTube channel, We release really short training clips, like 5 to 10 minutes on Wednesdays every week. And starting not this week, but next week, the first week in February, I want to say that all of February is about PPP. Okay, guys, so we kind of dig in a little bit deeper on this. So we talk about forgiveness, we talk about getting the second loan, we talk about all the different things that we're coming up with, and it's almost like this training, but we've broken it into sections. So definitely check on that. Go over to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and check those out. They come out on Wednesdays. All right, cool, you guys. Thanks for joining me. We did go a little bit over, but it is what it is. That I will see you guys next week. Remember, at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, we do have our weekly trainings you can join. Otherwise, 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, which is where you're at now, you can join us for our Q&A and updates. Have a fantastic week, you guys. We'll see you next week.